Greetings and welcome to today's education program, Outreach Opportunities in STEM Education. This is a joint webinar hosted by the ASQ Education Division and the Quality Management Division. My name is Shobha Middle. I'm from ASQ Quality Management Division, and today we have three distinguished speakers. We welcome them all. Um, your webinar will be moderated by Jill Brooks. It is my pleasure to invite Terry Showers from the ASQ Education Division STEM Network to say a few words.
Well, good afternoon. Welcome. And again, thank you so very much for taking time to attend this webinar. As Shubha has already alluded, it is a joint webinar between the Education Division and the Quality Management Division. My name, of course, is Terry Showers, and I am the STEM Network Lead in the Education Division. The STEM Network was developed about 5 years ago, and the focus of the network is to provide STEM resources for improving education for all student groups, reaching every educational level, and supporting the workforce. One important document that I will invite you to review is the STEM Network Resource Directory, which is located on the My ASQ website in the education community. This directory includes numerous resources for quality tools for educators, teaching resources, STEM careers and STEAM careers, and much more. Membership in the STEM network has changed over the years, and presently there are 4 very dedicated, hardworking members: Jill Brooks, whom you will hear more from shortly, Donna Gomes, Cindy Viestras, and myself. So after participating in this webinar, and if you are interested in joining the STEM network, please contact me at showerst58@gmail.com. This evening's webinar is designed to give you a deeper insight into the key success factors for STEM outreach, challenges in STEM outreach, partnerships, and the use of Six Sigma and quality tools. Our moderator is Jill Brooks. Jill is a continuous improvement, compliance, and quality senior leader, driving increased compliance, reduced risk, and reduced cost for functions such as global trade, engineering, HR, supply chain, communications, and operations. Jill graduated from the University of California, Santa Cruz with a Bachelor of Science in Computer Engineering and holds a Master of Business Administration from Southern Methodist University. Jill is an American Society for Quality Certified Software Engineer, a certified Six Sigma expert, and holds a customs broker's license from Customs and Border Protection. Jill is also passionate about volunteering. She is a master volunteer at the Perot Museum of Nature and Science, and she co-developed a Raytheon-sponsored STEM program that has impacted over 21,000 students. Jill believes that everyone has talents, and we all have the responsibility to share those talents within our community. I now present our moderator for the evening, Jill Brooks.
Thanks so much, Terry. I'm really excited to have so many people interested in tonight's webinar. We're going to have a great discussion with our panel. And before we jump into the panel discussion questions, I want each of the panelists to take a few minutes to introduce themselves and give you a bit of a flavor for the STEM outreach that they have been involved in over time. So we're going to start out with Scott Buell.
Hello, everybody. My name is Scott Buell. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Dynamic Learning Experiences, and we have created a drone STEM program that is running currently in over 100 schools around the country, over 20 states. We have partner programs running in Australia and in New Zealand. We are using drones to create what I call tomorrow's legends. And essentially, what we're doing is we're bringing small drones into the classroom to help students engage in problem-based, inquiry-based, collaborative, STEM-based learning. So we're using drones, one of the fastest growing technologies of the 21st century, to engage these students in STEM disciplines. They're amazing STEM tools. We're working with 4th, 5th, 6th graders. We're working on programs now to start reaching into the high school level. But there's a tremendous career opportunity for these youngsters to get engaged in this technology. And the great thing about it is that we can scale this so wide because we created a turnkey program that allows anybody to become a STEM drones educator in their classrooms or institutions. And we can talk a little bit about what that looks like. If you want to go to the next slide, why drones? You know, the future, we talk about creating tomorrow's legends today. Well, it is today. I don't know who hasn't seen little ingenuity creating amazing feats on Mars, led by Mimi Ang and her team at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. You know, aerial exploration of foreign surfaces like Mars is an incredible accomplishment. You know, just think of the physics involved in trying to lift little ingenuity off on that planet. So incredible. We're delivering life-saving medicines around in remote areas of continents around the world. When you think about data and precision agriculture, it's not just spraying. We're using sophisticated orthomosaic mapping and LiDAR and ground penetrating radar to help farmers produce higher crop yields. They're able to use these data to look at and see the crop health. When we think about world population explosions and food scarcity over the future, precision agriculture is a real thing, right? And wildlife conservation. We get into the life sciences and looking at like controlling and helping to control the wildlife conservation efforts and firefighting. So we're actually running a webinar later in December where we're going to have a company that's called Flash Forest Drones. They're using drones to reforest burned out areas. So we have drones fighting fires and we have drones reseeding burned areas. And then we've got little micro drones being used to help bees with colony collapse and pollinate. I say all this to show you the tremendous career opportunities. So when we think about drones in school, it's nice to say, oh, the kids are flying drones. They're doing a lot more than flying drones. They're learning a heck of a lot and they're carrying this knowledge with them through high school. You only have to be 16 years old to get your FAA Part 107 commercial drone operator certification. So when you think about career and technical education through an aviation track, uncrewed aerial vehicles fall squarely in there. And we're just getting them in a real young age and we're making it fun and engaging. And we've created a scaffolded turnkey program to allow anybody to bring this into their school or institution.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Scott. I can't wait to hear more about this.
Great.
All right, so we're going to shift now and we are going to get an introduction from Dr. Julie Furst-Bowe.
Good evening, everyone. It's great to be with you. I just looked at the scroll through the attendees and I recognized several familiar names from my work in ASQ. Right now, I'm sitting here a little ways from Little Rock, Arkansas, and serving as the academic vice president at Arkansas Tech University. It's a relatively new role for me. But certainly STEM outreach is not a new role for me. I've been doing it for about 30 years. Starting as a faculty member and senior leader at the University of Wisconsin-Stout, then moving on to Southern Illinois University, Chippewa Valley Technical College, a large college in the Wisconsin Technical College system, and now my position at Arkansas Tech. Well, I'll certainly go into a lot more detail later, but certainly I bring to you experience in the classroom, as someone who has been in charge of student enrollment and recruitment, as someone who's currently in charge of student retention at a university. I think we find that the STEM fields are more important than ever. It's exciting, and I've worked with everything from middle school students to high school students to college students. And I think it's really important to develop that pipeline and certainly make sure that we have a lot of students in the pipeline, but also that we have diverse students in the pipeline as well, and students, men and women, in that pipeline. I think that's probably all I need to say as an introduction. Again, looking at the list of names, I think most of you know me and you're familiar with my work, and about 20 years, I guess, in ASQ. Right now, I am at Arkansas Tech University, We've got about 10,000 students here. The main campus is in Russellville, which I said is right outside of Little Rock. And then we have a two-year college in Ozark, which is maybe about 40 miles away from here. We have undergraduate and graduate programs in all of the what I call this traditional STEM areas. They were brought together. That was one of my first major tasks here at Arkansas Tech, was the reorganization of the academic colleges. And so programs were taken out of 3 different colleges and made into a STEM college, which became formal just in July of this year. Currently, there are, as you can see, a little over 1,300 STEM majors this fall. The largest undergraduate programs, probably not surprising, again, very traditional STEM programs, biology, computer science, and mechanical engineering. Graduate programs, we have a very large graduate program in information technology, which is, I think, a little bit unique. What we are doing here, a lot. In fact, on November 16th, we'll be having a STEM career fair, and I was just in a planning meeting about that this afternoon, where we'll be inviting all kinds of high school students in to explore what does it look like. And to Scott's point, we'll be having a session on drones, of course, and all kinds of interactive activities that the students can participate in so they can get a feel of what the different STEM disciplines are. ATU is kind of known for its robotics competitions. So we have a robotics equipment that we basically bring out with a big trailer to area high schools. And every weekend we're setting up robotics competitions for the area high schools. And then we hold a competition of all the high school winners in the spring here in our Coliseum. Probably like many other universities, we're doing a lot with summer camps. I've been involved in STEM camps since my days at UW Stout. Here, quite the same. We have a governor's school, again, founded by Governor Clinton when he was governor of Arkansas. And again, the best and brightest come to our campus this summer, and they studied various STEM fields. Many other camps that accompany that. Something that we are engaging on, which I find really exciting, is that we are looking to be a site for a Challenger Center. Challenger Center is, again, a nationwide program. Those of you that remember the Challenger, I know it was quite some years ago, but these are fantastic centers. They are set up so students can come in with or without their teachers, but they will certainly have supervision on our end, and they can do missions. And basically, NASA is supplying the various missions to these centers, and then you can build on other activities for the students to do as well. So that's something that we are in the planning stages of, and hoping to have that up and running on our campus too. Certainly, we have courses and programs for teachers. We have teacher education programs in all the STEM areas, graduate certificates, graduate programs, all the way from an undergraduate to a doctoral degree. We do a lot of workshops for teachers. There's a big computer science initiative here in Arkansas. And so basically we receive funding from the government, for the state government, so that teachers can come here in the summer and they can get enough credits so they're able to teach dual credits, or they can teach college classes in IT, so classes that will count for both high school and college credit, and that's all paid for by the state. And again, we are part of the Arkansas STEM Coalition. Lots of great activities happening there if you want to take a look.
Thank you so much. A lot of good stuff going on. All right, now let's hear from Luann Lathrop.
Okay, so I'm currently a supplier quality engineer at Stellantis, or it used to be called Chrysler or Fiat Chrysler in between there. I'm the ASQ Automotive Division Chair right now. I'm an ASQ Fellow and a Certified Quality Engineer. I graduated from Marquette University with a Bachelor's of Science in Electrical Engineering and a Master's in Electrical Engineering. When I was in college, I was the president of the Society of Women in Engineer chapter, so if you want to do outreach, the local SWEET chapters always are very good to link up with. Also, when I was in school, I was a charter member of Alpha Omega Epsilon, which was the first engineering sorority, founded in 1983 and currently has 46 chapters, probably 5,000 plus members. And they also have a foundation that gives thousands of dollars of scholarships. So if you know people who are looking for scholarship money for college, check out that website. My first 26 years of my career, I was at General Motors in various positions, and I was very heavily involved in recruiting because you always need people. I am a SWE lifetime member and have attended many SWE conferences for recruiting. Like I said earlier, I'm currently with Stellantis in various engineering manufacturing positions, and the biggest problem I'm in supplier quality, and the biggest problem all our suppliers have is getting people of all levels. Doesn't matter any and every skill, and there is no job that isn't very technically orientated. And I've been involved with ASQ for 20 plus years. So some of the things that the ASQ Automotive Division does is we've been doing some outreach along with the Detroit section, outreach to different colleges in our local areas. So we started at Lawrence Tech in November of 2016. Oakland University, we started in 2017, Wayne State. And we do co-host things at the universities. And the biggest thing we find that all the students really want is how do they get a job after they graduate. And so that's the biggest thing. So we're doing a lot of networking. In fact, on Friday, we have our symposium at Oakland University. And then the other thing we're doing, next page, please, which we started last year, is the first robotics program. I think most people are familiar with that. There's lots and lots and lots of teams in the Midwest, and lots and lots of professionals, potential ASQ members that might be interested in ASQ. So we're doing a sponsor. We did a sponsorship contest last year and this year to kind of sponsor and get our ASQ logo on one of those robots that are running around and get some buzz going around. Like, what is ASQ? And so advertising the contest and getting data, and I'm classifying it as advertising and also it's STEM outreach too. So that's what I've been recently involved in.
Thank you so much, Luann. Very exciting. I've done some robotics stuff as well, and it's amazing to see the kids, put it all together and be successful with that. So now we're going to shift, and I have some questions that I would like to ask our panel. I'm really excited because we have such a diverse backgrounds and experiences. So I think we should have some good discussion. And I'm going to actually hop into a question that's about the numbers and the impacts, because all three of you have been involved in various STEM programs. And I'm wondering if you can share anything about the impact that your programs have had on the students or the community at large. And this could be anecdotal or it could be qualitative. And of course, I'm, a quality geek, so I get really excited if you actually have some quantitative data that you could share with us. Who would like to start? Go for it, Scott.
I have a big mouth. I'll go. Again, to the point of scale, wanting to make this program something that we could bring around the world, and truly we are. We've impacted thousands of children, and we've worked with hundreds of teachers and educators, and not just in schools, but in places like the Boys and Girls Clubs around the country. We've got 7 or 8 programs running down in West Palm Beach, and we recently partnered with the Boys and Girls Clubs down there. Carrier, the big air conditioning company, actually hosted a drone STEM challenge in their technology innovation center for the Boys and Girls Clubs to come in. the students were to partner in teams, and then we had a drone challenge where they're actually working through some obstacle courses and trying to partner to navigate through in a certain amount of time. So we're able to do that there. In Fresno, where we have a big program running with Fresno Unified School District, I think about this young boy Mario, who was, the little kid in the back of the room that just didn't want anything to do with anything. And because the magic of drones, as I like to call it, is that enticement, right? And that's really the kid I'm at. I mean, look, there's lots of kids that are the STEM kids, let's face it, they're going to find the robotics, they're going to find the STEM things. But I was like a little Mario. I was that little guy in the back of the room that was just like staring out the window, thinking of everything that I could be doing other than school. And if you had brought a drone to me then, what we do is now we cast that wide net. We bring Mario into our program because drones are cool. And next thing you know, we have a Blockly coding app that hooks to the drone, and it's teaching the drone they're learning how to navigate the drone autonomously. So next thing, Mario's programming a drone to fly in 3D coordinate space. And now Mario makes the connection between Minecraft and how his character is moving around through three-dimensional space in that video game that he's playing, and it clicks. And he comes up to the educator after the program and says, I think I want to code video games. Bingo. I mean, that's impact. And we see that time and time again through our program. So, and it's why I do what I do, and it's why my team does what we do. Just telling that story kind of gives me a little emotional because I think about all the children that we're able to do that for. So.
That is amazing. Luann or Julie, do you have some?
Sure.
Something to add?
Yeah, and I wish I had more of the quantitative data to share with the group, knowing that you're a group of quality experts. But certainly when I was at the University of Wisconsin-Stout, we ran a summer camp. It was called the STEPS Camp. It was a summer technology and engineering preview camp. And it was an experience for girls, specifically for middle school girls. And they would spend several weeks on the campus. They had kind of a capstone project that they did. Sometimes it was an airplane, sometimes it was a boat, and then they would, launch their planes or sail their boats or whatever kind of as their closing event. And I did, with one of the faculty members from the STEPS program, write an article about that after it had been going for maybe about a decade or so. And we did find that it had really strong results, that the girls who had attended the STEPS camp were more likely to take STEM courses in high school, were more likely to attend a university, and were more likely to major in STEM fields. Certainly not 100%, not, but certainly enough to make it definitely worthwhile. And then I would have liked to even followed the girls even longer, but at that point, I think I moved or switched positions. But certainly that program showed a lasting impact. As far as community outreach, I can give two really great examples here in Arkansas. I talked about the Challenger Center. That's something certainly that Arkansas Tech is taking the lead on, but great partners with the school district and with the city as well. I think the school district sees tremendous potential in taking students and teachers through the center. I think the city sees this as almost like a tourist type attraction, that someone might come into town, look at the other things and think, wow, let's spend an afternoon taking the kids through the Challenger Center. So that's been just a great partnership of the public school district, the university, the community. And then another one that's even further off in the future is there's going to be a big eclipse next year. I don't know how many people have on your radar screen yet, but Russellville, Arkansas is one of the best places to come and see the eclipse. So come on down. And again, we've got an eclipse committee that is just phenomenal. It's full of STEM people. It's got certainly our astronomers are on it, and other science folks are on it, community members. Again, just a lot of excitement. Students, of course, and we have a big telescope, of course, where people can come and see the eclipse. We've heard the hotels are sold out. We're concerned about parking. So just another really nice, campus, school district, community collaboration around STEM.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I actually had the opportunity to observe your girls program, and it was was really engaging. I can certainly understand how it made such an impact on those young ladies. Luann, did you want to add anything, or should I just shift to the next question? Which
Well,
would you?
I have a comment. So if you want some really good data on STEM, look at the Society of Women Engineers. They've done all kinds of studies and have all kinds of data.
Mhm.
That's really good to look at for trends. And one of the points that stands out there is if you lose somebody to math in age 6th grade, it's hard to get them back. So
Mhm.
you gotta keep kids engaged in math. Tell them if nothing else, they gotta count their money. You know, you gotta know math so you can count your money. And I think they can relate to that. But because too many people want to be lazy with money, or I mean, lazy with math.
Yeah.
The other thing that Society of Women Engineer does is I think they give educators free memberships to SWE, and then they also I think they have a monthly newsletter that explains different kinds of engineering. Unless a lot of people don't know what engineers are. My
Mhm.
dad was a mechanical engineer, so I kind of knew what an engineer was. He got to fly all over the world and do cool things, but I didn't know what he was doing. And then I became an electrical engineer just because I didn't want to be the same thing he was. But but a lot of people don't even understand what engineering does, but it's a very good basic, hard, difficult education that you can use throughout your life. And as an engineer, you are always learning new things and new technology and new stuff all the time. So
That is so true. And I really resonate with your comment about people not really knowing what engineers do. And some of the time when I was visiting classrooms, I would talk to the students about how many engineers were involved in developing your cell phone because of all the
Mhm.
materials and the
thousands,
So,
software and, you know, and it was really eye-opening for them to think about that. Because they just think, oh, you know, I use it to play a game or call or text or Snapchat or whatever. But everything that goes into it behind it is really something. So yeah. Okay. Well, all three of you have been very successful in these different STEM programs. Can you talk to me a little bit about what you feel are the key success factors for your various STEM outreach programs that you've been involved in, whether it's something that you were driving or whether it's something that you were supporting? Scott,
uh,
do you want to go
I'll go
first?
again. Sure. Hi, I'll lead the next. Yeah. So, in our I think it's really the structure of the program. You know, when I started out with drones in school, it's challenging. I think, Julie might echo this if she's done drone programs in schools. It's kind of there's a lot going on and you're not quite sure. And it was me, right? When I first started out, I had this, it's like you start off with what do I even use? There's so many drones out there. Like, what drone am I using in school? Are they safe? There's a whole safety discussion that has to be had. What's the management of the classroom look like? So there's this, I call it this drone STEM jungle out there. And there are, when I entered into the space several years ago, had kind of got bit by the bug. I was invited into a 5th grade classroom to talk drones to a bunch of kids. And it was like, well, now I know what I'm going to do. Um, I just didn't have any tools or resources, and there really wasn't anything out in the market that I thought was that that well structured. If anybody's ever read the E-Myth, we talk about the technician getting the entrepreneurial seizure, the buzz. And what happens is they're not really business people, they're very good workers and technical people, and they try to bring curriculum into schools, but they've never walked a day in a teacher's shoes. And
Mhm.
so what we did is we flipped that, and we said, well, let's just get educators that are really creative and have wonderful ideas and a lot of heart and a lot of passion, and let's tell them about drones. And okay, now that you know what this is, design a program that you could use in an after school or in school day setting that makes sense to you, that fits in the model. And so that's how we reworked it. And so our success has come on the ability to bring this. We get calls, as the owner of a company, when you get a call from a client, you're working in a technical space like drones in school, your first inclination is to kind of cringe a little bit at the beginning because you think what went wrong, right? It's a lot of things can happen. So you tend to go, oh, what happened to the drone? And instead we get, I want to thank you so much for making this so useful and so easy to implement. And that is just magic. We love that. I share that with my team and say, this is what you've done here. So to answer the question, I think the success has been a structured, well scaffolded program that really takes into consideration the educators that are actually going to run it, and trying to support them at every step of the way. They are so stretched coming out of the pandemic. The last thing an educator wants is something else to do right now. There's so much to do. So the more that we can provide support and unlimited training we offer, so you can take training with us whenever you want. Um, Real-time support. You have a problem right there in the moment, call us up, we'll help you. We're creating legends, but truly the teachers are the heroes of the program because they're the ones that are running it.
Thank you so much, Scott. Luann or Julie, do you want to talk about what you have concluded are the key success factors?
Yeah, and I would have to agree with Scott. I mean, program design, I think, is key, and it's going to certainly vary on what your goals and objectives are. And a program that you're putting together for middle school girls is going to look very different than a program you're putting together for teachers who are going to be getting graduate credit for the experience. So there's just a lot of different things. And as Scott said too, the faculty are absolutely key. At every institution I've been at, I've worked with some very just innovative, creative, dedicated faculty in the STEM areas. And Scott's exactly right. A lot of this outreach activity takes place during the summer. It takes place on Saturdays. It's above and beyond, their typical work schedule or classroom schedule. But they're key. They are absolutely key because they are, they have been working in the field. They've got the advanced degrees. They're just eager to share their knowledge and experience with learners, frankly, of all ages. And then I think another key has been student involvement. And what we saw with, again, the program for girls that I mentioned at UW Stout, that was just, again, a great program design and some fantastic faculty, but we also plugged in students along the way. So again, we started out with middle school girls, but once they got to high school, they could come back and be counselors, kind of, junior counselors. Once they got into college, they could come back to the program and become senior counselors. And so just a way of keeping the girls involved so we weren't losing them on their way from middle school into a STEM program at a college or a university. So I also think, involving students has been a real key to the success of the programs that I've been involved with.
I agree. Having the consumer or the customer involved is super important to make sure that you have something that really resonates with them and has an impact for them. Luann, anything that you'd like to add?
I think a vision. You have to have a vision of where you're going, and then the passion, and then you're working. It's not a 9 to 5. It's 24/7, right? The world is a 24/7 day, and you have a passion, and it goes, and you follow it.
Yep, that is true. That is true. It's got to be something driven by your heart,
Yeah.
Okay. Well then, since this is an ASQ sponsored event, I'm wondering if you all could talk about whether you have considered using or actually used Six Sigma and quality tools as part of your outreach program. Okay, Scott, you're first.
Yeah, I have not. I mean, I'll be very transparent. We just haven't. It's not part of my background. I don't come out of that world, and I apologize in this ASQ panel. It's just not something that we've done. It doesn't mean that we won't or wouldn't consider it. I think you kind of, in our case, it's we just don't know what we don't know, right? So I'd be open to hearing how, if anybody's from if you familiarize yourself with my program, how we might integrate it in or what we're doing.
Absolutely. And I bet, every program that I've ever been exposed to, you know, is always being improved upon. And I'm sure that yours has as well. And it would not surprise me at all if you haven't actually used some quality tools, but you didn't even know that you were doing it at the time.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, continuous improvement. And I guess that comes, I think Julie mentioned this, is that, we have a community, we built a community. We have an application where we have everybody that's in our program shares inside a community in a social platform where, we've had people go, wow, you let your customers talk to each other. And so not only do we let them, we encourage it, because I mean, we've got some educators out there that are just incredible. They just take our program as almost a foundation and they build on it. And so
Mhm.
it is continuous improvement. We are always eliciting feedback on how we can create better programs, how we can improve the current program. But in future iterations, what are the learnings from the field? And then how do we integrate those into new missions and new applications and new challenges for the students, and create better programs for the educators to run them. So yeah, you're probably right. I think we just don't realize what we're doing. It's not in a structured, disciplined way, in the sense of it's ASQ. We have a buzz for it, but it is something that we bake into everything that we do.
Absolutely. And I'd love to talk to you more after this about how you might be able to apply some tools.
Love to. I would love to.
And I would probably say the same. When you first asked your question, I'm thinking, oh, fishbone diagrams and things. No, not really. But I think overall, absolutely. I think when we go into it, it's a project management. It's the plan, do, check, act cycle all of the time. We do the planning. Oftentimes we'll pilot a program on a very small scale and then get feedback from everyone who was involved in the program, and the students, the faculty, all of that before we roll it out on a bigger scale. Absolutely, we do that all the time. And then really doing the evaluation as well, on different levels. Kind of that first, did the kids like the program? Did they like it? But what you find oftentimes is, they like the food, or they like, they like a lot of things, or maybe they dislike some things. But kind of that first level of satisfaction. And then you get into deeper, the learning. Did the students actually master the learning objectives associated with the program, or did the teachers master the learning objectives associated with the course? And then finally, kind of looking at that highest level of evaluation, what was the return on investment? If we, ran the STEPS program for a decade, how many of those students ended up as actually STEM majors at the university, several
Mhm.
years after they completed the program, sort of that highest level of evaluation? What was the ultimate return on investment? So, yeah, I would say it's kind of the way I operate. I'm a quality person, a Baldrige person, and have been for a lot of time. But I would agree with Scott. I guess we don't often think about it that way. It's just about how to effectively manage a program or a project.
Excellent. Anything that you'd like to add, Luann?
A lot of the things are going through my mind. So I don't know, it was like about 10, 15 years ago, they were doing a Marshall Plan for talent in Michigan. And there was a whole bunch of money out there and some collaborations that were being forth. I actually took data and did a value stream map of the populations of several different schools and showed how the fallout rate, took each grade and did the fallout rate. And I actually did it macro for the whole state of Michigan too, to show how you lose people and where do those people go. So value streamed the map, the pipeline from freshmen in high school all the way through. And I had different models set up, and I did a couple for different schools, but then the whole thing kind of, I don't know what happened to the whole initiative. It was a lot of activity for about 9 months to a year, and then it all, something happened to it, the whole thing. But yeah, I created all these models on a value stream map of the populations of schools in the state of Michigan, and then you could use it for an individual school.
Very interesting. Sounds like a lot of work, that analysis.
Yeah, I kind of do play with data.
In your spare time, in your spare time.
Yeah, and volunteer, trying to model it. And what had started it is because before I actually was on a homeless eviction committee, and we showed eviction diversion in the county, how if you could be proactive, we actually reduced the cost of the court by doing it that way.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Do all of you, sort of a follow-up question, do all of you do some type of survey at the end of your outreach programs?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And again, it would depend on the program. If it's like a summer, camp experience, the students would get a survey. Absolutely, the faculty as well. If it's a course, again, there would be an actual course evaluation process and things
Right.
along those lines. But yes, every outreach activity is evaluated.
And is that
Yeah.
part of the Legends program?
It is. It depends on. So we have a number of different ways that we run it. In Fresno, we're actually doing the actual administration of the program, and that's not typical for us. We typically bring it in and then train. But as part of that program, it's such a large program that we've brought in our own facilitators to run the program, and each week we're bringing in feedback. So we're doing kind of a 360 with the school district on what's working on their end and how they can improve for the students in terms of moving them through the programs and otherwise. And then back on us is what are we doing and how can we improve what we're doing there? We bring in every quarter, we'll bring in all the parents too. We like the parents' feedback on what they're seeing at home from the schools or from their students when they come home. So, in various levels, we have different survey models or feedback loops that we use. Whether they're formal or informal, again, through our community app, we get a lot of feedback just from the users of the program on a continuous basis.
Great, great. And anything else that you wanted to add, Luann?
No.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Well, I think that I'm going to shift from my prepared questions to some audience questions. And we'll have a little discussion on those. And then we'll leave a little bit of time to wrap up. There's a bit of business we have to take care of at the end of this event as well. The first question that I see here is from someone in Texas, actually. And they are talking about their high schools and how they have a track which includes an engineering track in their Center of Technology school. And they are asking about ideas on how to get a pipeline of engineering or technical internships for these high school students. They don't seem to see very many opportunities for that when they look on LinkedIn and that sort of thing. Do any of you have some feedback on that?
Yeah, I do. So a lot of times companies won't hire because they're under 18, right? Internships. The internship cycle for engineering students is the fall for the following summer. And usually they don't take them until sophomore year of college, but that's the big companies and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But there's so much manufacturing and so much need. And I just go by my own experience. My dad was an engineer, so he got me a job where he worked the summer before I started college. So networking within the professionals and the industry that is right where you're at to get those either part-time jobs or summer jobs are great experience. And if they're interested in being an engineer too, go work in the factories. Because that's what you will learn. There's buildings all over the place that they're big box buildings and nobody has any idea what goes on in them. What goes on in the industrial parks behind those buildings is phenomenal. You'll have thousands of people producing something and it's not a long-term thing, but it's a good way to get exposed to industry and different types of industry. And I don't think that, and there's such a shortage of workers. And if they're a good, straight A, B student, they can learn something. If the biggest thing is showing up, that's the hardest thing for people to do. If they show up and try to learn and try to contribute, they'll learn something. They may,
Mhm.
so, and I think as time goes on and companies have harder and harder time getting to people to work. I mean, one of my suppliers, they have to hire 3 people for every position just to keep because of attendance. So even part-time attendance. So the more I think if manufacturing got more flexible with students locally and you could generate that relationship, you'd have that experience. You'd get good experience, and it would be a win-win. The
Mhm.
student would get some exposure to industry, and the company would get a person that comes to work and is aware and trying to learn.
Somebody has sort of a follow-up comment on that liability insurance is the major constraint on internships. Um,
Hmm.
I don't really have anything to add on that. I don't know if you do, Luann.
I think it's the under 18, but I think with the right sign-ups, you can get things done.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I will say that I have seen some high school students who were brought into to companies. Obviously, they were only part-time and they weren't given extremely technical work, but as you say, it gets them exposure to the business and they can learn a lot, by paying attention to what's going on around them. So I do see that as a good opportunity as well. Julie or Scott, do y'all have any comments on that?
I would probably just agree with what Luann said. I mentioned that we have a comprehensive campus and we have a technical college. We also have a high school technology center that the university operates, and I just actually happened to be there last week, talking to the woman who runs the center. And what she's done is she's arranged the scheduling so students are able to take their classes in the morning and then they can work in the afternoons. I'm not sure you'd call it an internship. It's almost more of a co-op education model. But yeah, she basically, I think, just went around knocking on doors of the local companies. The partnership she was telling me about was she's got a great partnership with a Rockline Industries, a manufacturer. She said exactly what you said, Luann. She said they don't know what is happening in those big boxes. And yeah, it's fantastic. They actually have a line that's totally operated by students.
Awesome.
And then she said, and then they had more students. And she did say there was some hesitation, do we really want these high school kids working with us? But she said, once that's gone. And now it's like they will take all the high school kids they can get. And she didn't mention the 18-year-old part, and I certainly don't know the ins and outs of that particular factory. But yeah, there's a worker shortage, so I would think companies would really want to try to make it work. And if they've got high school students who are willing to learn, and I would equate it to like the college level internship of an engineering student. To me, that's a little bit different, but I certainly think there are opportunities for students to do that kind of work and have career exploration in the process.
Mhm.
Here someone has sort of commented or questioned, kind of following up this discussion about difficulties with resources. And they're asking about advice for a testing lab where we're trying to get more, hold on one second, sorry. More technicians to have experience with the materials made in the manufacturing process to get an idea of how the products we test are made. It's difficult to provide tactile education unless it comes into the lab as something to test and then try to explain how it was made. So I guess they're talking about more holistic understanding for the test technicians on the products, how they can gain that. Would anybody like to comment on that?
Actually, so I can put my 2 cents in because, so like one of my suppliers, I see great need to have a training department and develop, you have to develop that training material in-house for your specific industry or product and teach people, because if you're hiring a technician, the technician, you don't know what their background is. You don't know what the people's reading levels is or their math levels. And so you have to be able to explain it and develop curriculum so that they can understand their job and understand and feel good about the job too.
Right, and how it fits in the bigger picture.
Yep.
I also think taking advantage of ASQ opportunities is a good thing to do there. In the past, I know that the Dallas section of ASQ has hosted tours of various plants and shared information, about how their various products were developed. And that's totally free and, would be of interest, I would think, for some of these folks. They said a follow-up. They say the problem is we don't manufacture the products, so we have no reference materials on hand. Yeah, so then perhaps you can develop a partnership with some of the producers of the products that you're actually testing to have that more complete understanding. That might be one way to approach it.
Yeah, or just call people too. Call the people who made the product and find out, get their technical resources. And there's a lot of stuff you can download off the internet too, and find the technical expert. I had a problem with a glue for gluing leather down on an instrument panel, and I tracked down a technical expert in Europe who gave papers on the topic, and I don't know how I got his name. And then he spent an hour and a half with us and a whole bunch of engineers just explaining all his knowledge of how to glue leather to an IP. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah, and if you build those relationships with your suppliers and your customers, both ends of the food chain, then you can really have a lot of understanding about the product. I think that's really useful. There was a follow-up about how do we get information on the ASQ producers allowing visitation. And I would encourage you to join your local ASQ division. They have periodic meetings and they solicit for things that you are interested in learning about. So you could certainly raise that to them. And I believe that in our closing slides, we're going to have a couple links with some information about ASQ. So hopefully that will be of assistance to you if you aren't already a member. So we are almost out of time. So I'm going to close our Q&A session here. And I would like to thank everybody who has contributed to this webinar. I especially want to thank Shobha and Doug from QMD, who have been instrumental in putting this WebEx together and helping us with publicity, along with some other folks in the quality management division. I also appreciate the help from my fellow STEM Network Education Division people. And you can see everybody is named there. I want to give an extra special thanks to our speakers, Scott, Julie, and Luann, and let you know that you will all be receiving a certificate of appreciation because we really, really do appreciate you giving your time and your knowledge. And I hope that everybody has enjoyed this evening's event. That is going to wrap up my portion of it. And I'm going to hand the reins back to Shobha so that she can close us out here.
Thank you, Julie.